right. Well, welcome to live coaching, everyone. And, it's really an honor and a privilege to serve. This year, I've done more live free coaching than any other time in my history. And for years, I was a business coach. But, I found that as much as I loved really working with people one-on-one, where my calling was to be serving teams and helping companies grow. But instead of doing the one-on-one coaching, now I do this live coaching to help all of you. And really and truly, you can bring any question that you want in sales and marketing and mindset, leadership, structure, function. And my goal is that you just leave with whatever it is you need. The rules for asking the questions, we just don't want you to mention a specific company name. Ideally, that's just one of the sacred cows we have. And, if you have a question and you think, wow, I don't know if anyone else is going to appreciate this question, chances are someone will. And so that's okay. You have some options. You can come out and ask your question. You can put your question in the chat. Either way, it doesn't matter to me, whichever way you want to go. A couple quick announcements. As I mentioned, if you go to the Susan Sly Project on iTunes or on Spotify, or if you go to Susan Sly on YouTube, I interview people who are there to give advice to small business owners in their particular area of competency. So we have videos on how to organically grow your followers. I have LinkedIn experts, how to grow your LinkedIn, monetize LinkedIn, TikTok. I just interviewed Andrea Lake. She started 14 successful startups. One of Sticker Junkie, Yoga Junkie. She's amazing. I've interviewed Dave Asprey, Jesse Itzler, whose wife is Sarah Blakely, who started Spanx. Jesse himself started, NetJets, Zico Coconut Water. It's the way I serve. I used to do television and radio, and it's just really fun that I get to help all of you. So those are my big announcements. And I would love to help you. Who has the first question?
I just want to hop out too and say, although it wasn't planned, you guys can ask me questions as well. And my mom and I tag team these things. I know we all have a lot of fun. So by all means, ask my mom questions. But if you guys have any questions for me too, I'm here for you guys.
Absolutely. And if you don't know, Avery is our social media branding expert at the agency. And she specializes in working with businesses, helping them with their TikTok and Instagram branding. And she is exceptional at it. One of her clients, a video she did for them went viral. It had 1.2 million views in 24 hours on TikTok. So yeah, pretty powerful. All right. So who's got the first question? Who wants to jump out?
I do.
Go for it.
So my team is starting to build. What is your piece of advice as being a leader when you're first starting out building a team? What would you say would be one or two things to focus on as a leader?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question, Christina. So regardless of the type of business you're in, there's a few things I want to say about team. The first thing is that the people who take you to one level are not going to be the people that take you to the next level. So one of the things I found in getting to my first $1 million annually, those people were not the same people that took me to 2 million. As an example. And even in the startup space, right? The initial team that's there before your product goes to market might not be the team that starts to get you to that first $1 million a year, and so on and so forth. So we have to understand that people, this is the first thing about building team, people come into our lives for a season. Rule number 2 is you're either growing together or you're growing apart. And I learned that from a friend of mine who grew a company that's done over $8 billion in sales. And he said, you're either growing together or you're growing apart. And so with your team, it's so important to build culture. And, if you have team members who aren't into personal development, who aren't into growing themselves, chances are they're not going to be with you. Any business, it doesn't matter what kind of business you are in, there is a massive personal growth aspect to it. I'll use Lululemon as an example. So Lululemon, massive company, they started in Canada. They had a little store in Vancouver, a little store in Toronto, and now multi-billion-dollar company. They just bought the Mirror. And do you know that they're all of their staff were able to go to Landmark training for free? Now, if you've ever done Landmark's no joke. They're going to call you out. Kim's like, nope, Kim is a certified coach. Yeah, they're going to call you to the carpet. And so, but all of their managers went to Landmark training. And so their employee retention was high. Their, it was just beautiful in that regard. I'll tell you, so if you don't know, if you saw this post on LinkedIn or Instagram, you're here, you're like, who is Susan? So I oversee currently 5 companies, and my leaders in all of the companies except one, they've all walked the fire at Tony Robbins. And even though I've done speaking events with Tony Robbins, it's not up to me to be the Tony Robbins. I'm their boss, right? But they've all walked the fire. I want them to have those breakthroughs. I want them to tell me about the latest personal development books they're reading. I want them to be in that culture of wanting to grow. Even Avery, who's now joined one of the companies I oversee, is a digital marketing agency, who's now joined that company. She's walked the fire. Her brother has walked the fire. Her sister has walked the fire. My husband has walked the fire. It's just what we do. So figuring out a way, Christina, that you can creatively, even virtually, help your team grow together. And that could be a book club. That could be attending a virtual event together, something where you're constantly growing and you're constantly evolving. Okay. Is that your mom?
Yes, this is my 86-year-old mother that just walked by. She has lost a tooth, so she's kind of freaking out. I told her she needed to put the tooth under the pillow tonight and see if the tooth fairy comes.
My dad's 81, so give her a big hug from me.
Okay, thank you.
So, and the last thing I'm going to say about building a team is being okay to let people go with love, right? I'm a very loving person. However, that being said, it doesn't mean I'm a pushover, right? And by letting people go in a traditional business, it might be firing them, it might be redeploying them to a different department. Jack Welch has a quadrant, and he's a big believer of let's redeploy people to where they need to be. But it just might be letting them go emotionally until they're ready. And I have seen it time and again where a person's not ready and then they're suddenly ready. And that's okay. One of the things I do, Christina, and the last thing I'll share about team building, excellent question, is even when people aren't ready, I'll still periodically reach out to them. I'll send them a message, whatever. And because I'm growing and going at a very intense pace, right? And I don't expect people to keep up because the reality is a lot of people can't, right? Like, the getting up at 4 a.m, the putting in a 12 to 16 hour day. Today alone, I'm recording 4 shows for my podcast. I have, meetings right up until 7:30 tonight. Most people can't handle that pace, but I expect my employees, I expect my leaders in my direct sales business, I expect them to keep up the pace at least 80 to 90%. The ones I'm going to work the most intensely with. Other thing I want to say, did a show with someone this morning. Amazing coach, started a massive institute movement. And she said this: we will duplicate our insecurities. We'll duplicate our insecurities. And I don't care, men, women, you will duplicate your insecurities. So if you're not working on yourself, and let's say you are a 6 out of 10 in levels of confidence and conscious competence, your people you're going to attract are going to be at a level that's either equal to you or lower. So we will duplicate our insecurities, right? And so, again, if you've got to keep working on yourself. Great question, Christina. I love it. Who's got the next question?
This is Tarina. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm not very good at typing in chat, so I figured I'd go ahead and pose the same question to you live. I have 3 businesses, and one of the things I have a tendency of doing is trying to juggle so many different things. I'm a solopreneur, and there's just a lot that I'm trying to manage, and I'm trying to get software systems in place to help me keep it organized and keep it prioritized. But there's a huge learning curve for me. I'm kind of old school, and I'm not afraid to learn new tasks, but it just seems like every effort I move forward with turns out that it takes a lot more just to make some small progress. So what would you suggest?
I love your question, Tarina, and I want to celebrate you. Like, seriously, you're overseeing 3 businesses, right? So one of the things I learned, Tarina, from Dave Asprey is to stop saying I run 3 businesses or I run 5 businesses. I don't run 5 businesses, but I oversee. The first thing with automation is starting to automate in your mind, and that means letting go of control. So all of my businesses run on automation. I use Infusionsoft, which is now called Keep, their highest level product called Keep Max, and everything runs on automation. There's follow-up sequences, intake forms, and everything. I could not do what I do without automation, but Tarina, I'm going to tell you a little secret. So it's not so secret. So I don't believe in paying a lot of money for something I don't understand. And if you want to become a millionaire, that's
Makes sense.
my lesson 1, girl. Yeah, right. I don't pay a lot of money for something I don't understand, because then people are going to take advantage of you. And number 2, I negotiate on everything. But years ago, I hired someone to implement the automation, and he would build in Infusionsoft, 1 campaign essentially every 90 days. And he was charging me $7,500 a month. And after I let him go, then I went to another agency. They were charging me $10,000 a month. And I was like, wait a minute. So I went directly to Infusionsoft. I became a certified partner, and I now understand it. And then I started an agency where we charge people a lot less than $10,000 a month, but I was getting taken advantage of because I didn't understand it. Right. And so yesterday, I'll give you an example. So one of my clients is doing a startup. I have a startup consulting business, and we either take equity or we take cash, or we take a combination of equity or cash. So this one client is doing a startup, and I said, let me go to the attorney and negotiate on all the forms you need. I love this stuff. It gets me fired up. So I have a conversation with the attorney yesterday, and anyway, $10,000 in forms, now down to $4,000 in forms, right? Because I understand it. I understand what forms we need. I understand how long it's going to take to produce those forms, to customize them a little bit. And so my client is like so excited because already their first month of fees is covered by the amount of money I've saved them. And so, Tarina, what I want to say to you, girlfriend, is this. You're going to take, if I were in your shoes, I would carve out 3 days. You're not going to need more than that. You're a smart woman. I would carve out 3 days. And whether you go to YouTube University or you hire someone to train you one-on-one on the software that you're implementing, and even though you're going to probably pay people to deploy it, you will never again pay a lot of money for something you don't understand. But carve out 3 days, because this is the best time of the year. Any of my long-term students and clients will know, I tell them November, December, this is when you want to be learning things that you're going to use to kick ass in the next year. So you carve out those 3 days, right? And just like we have clients on here right now, they hired Avery, and they're doing one-on-one sessions with her for TikTok and Instagram because they don't really understand it, but they know they need it. And they're going in deep dives so they can deploy hardcore in 2021. So that's what I want you to do. I want you to carve out those 3 days, and I want you to learn it. And let's all understand something clearly. Just because we're learning something doesn't mean we're doing it, right? Many of you have heard my story. I overpaid for fees with someone running my portfolio. And then I went to someone else that had a second opinion. I saved $16,000. Then I decided to take a ton of courses, and I run my own portfolio now. I'm not saying you should do that. But when I started to understand what I was paying in fees, I had a mini heart attack, because it was like a salary. I could have employed someone for what I was paying in fees. So again, never pay more money for something you can learn yourself. Just don't do it. If you take away nothing, and again, it doesn't mean you're going to do it, but it means you'll never overpay for it. Right?
Thank you so much. That's great advice. And
will you keep me posted on how that goes?
I will. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. And we're a family. When I do live coaching, there are a lot of people who come all the time. I want to say happy birthday to Maura Lustig. It was her birthday. So happy birthday, Maura. You're looking gorgeous, girl. All right. Who's got the next question? Okay.
I have a couple of questions, Susan.
Go for it, Kim.
So I know you basically were with or started a startup network marketing business. And of course, I know you have other startup businesses. So on the network marketing side, how, I don't know, how's the question, but any tips on building quickly with a startup? And also along the same lines with the team, when you have leaders that are as strong or possibly stronger, definitely stronger in other areas of myself, how to be the leader and support those leaders.
Kim, it's a great question. And Yolanda asked a question as well that's in that genre. I just want to riff off for a moment since I'm here. So there was a New York Times bestselling author, a woman, who recently came out and said network marketing is dumb. And I want to respond to that publicly and say it was such a misinformed comment. Susie Orman, multiple New York Times bestselling author, loves network marketing. Do you know why? Her mom was a single mom who raised them on network marketing. Darren Hardy, he started in network marketing. He made, I don't know how much money he made, but then he bought Success Magazine, became the publisher. Like network marketing is a legitimate side hustle that can become a main hustle. So I want to riff off. And the reason I say that is because I've made millions of dollars in that industry and I'm not ashamed of it. I know other people who've made millions of dollars and they're speakers and authors, and they would never even tell you they had been in network marketing. As a legitimate side hustle. And I just want to say that. So now that I've been on my little platform, and people who are critical, they don't understand it. It doesn't mean there aren't bad companies, but there are bad restaurants out there too, right? If you've ever been on a bad date, you know there's bad things that happen. There are bad people out there, right? Okay, so I've said what I need to say. Let's talk about growing quickly. So I want everyone to write this down because it applies to any business whatsoever. S like Sam, A like Alpha, R like Reginald. Thanks, PJ. Love you. All right. So the R stands for a result. What is the result? What is the result Karen wants to get? Yolanda wants to get. Keith wants to get. Terry wants to get. Angel wants to get. Amy wants to get. Ford wants to get. What is the result that you want to get in your business? Any kind of business whatsoever. Now, generally speaking, a result has a dollar sign in front of it. Okay. And if it doesn't, I'm not saying this for Kim. Kim's very, very bright, but I'm just saying this in general. If your result doesn't have a dollar sign in front of it, you're not truly in business. Yes, we want to serve many, many people. Even Tony Robbins, he wants to feed 10 million people a year, but he knows very clearly, because he'll say the second part of that is this is how much it's going to cost to feed 10 million people, right? So he's so clear with his Feed America program. So the R stands for the results. The S stands for skills. Our skills must be able to match the result it is we are seeking. And so if you want to have a 6-figure result, you've got to have 6-figure skills. If you want to have a 7-figure result, you got to have 7-figure skills. Okay. The first A stands for activities. Your activities must match the result that you're seeking. Okay. And the next one stands for attitude. So if we look at any business, okay, one of the primary skills is being able to sell, right? I don't care. We raised $6 million in seed round in our startup company, and that was all being able to sell, right? All of the customers and clients we brought in, it's all sell, 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 sell. Let me go through the primary skills of any business, and some are reliant to network marketing, the last two. Here we go. Number one, you've got to be able to generate leads. That's the first skill. In multiple sources. And if you think it's just like you're going to post and pray, it's not going to work. Lead generation, it comes from your network, it comes from your referrals, it comes from being a good human, asking for what you want. Mark Victor Hansen was just on my show. It's getting released on Monday. It is so good. And he and his wife, Crystal, have a new book called Ask. And in that book, they identify 7 reasons why people are blocked from asking. Incredible. All right, so you got to be able to generate leads. Number 2, you've got to be able to take those leads and turn them into appointments. Okay, number 2 is appointments. Number 3 is being able to follow up. So on social media, it takes 12 to 16 exposures before someone buys, 12 to 16. And people go, well, I did one Facebook Live and no one bought. Okay, well, do 15 more and then we'll talk. All right, next is you've got to be able to handle objections. And I don't care what you are selling. I did 2 business presentations yesterday, and these would be multi-million-dollar deals, and I have to handle the price objection. I don't care if it's $150 or it's $1.5 million or whatever. There's sometimes a price objection. Handle objections. Number 6 is close the sale. Okay. Those are the 6 fundamental, or 5 is close the sale. Next, this is the first 6 are applicable to all business. You've got to be able to take that person on a customer journey and then upsell them to the next level of the product or service. I just gave Avery a referral. Avery, that client could be massive for you. Okay. Cause this is, they own so many brands, right? So let's say Avery does her introductory consulting service. Let's say that was $1,500. Can she upsell them now to a retainer client that is paying her $1,500 or $2,500 a month, right? That's the next thing, is accelerating them on the journey. So now the last 2 are specific to network marketing. Can you get that person, is the skill to get them to begin to share with 2, 5, 10 people, right? The average person in network marketing enrolls 1.79 people. So anyone who does over 2, they're exceptional. And then the 8th thing in network marketing is getting them to events. The top income earners in any network marketing company are skilled at getting people to events. Those are the 8 skills. They are fundamental. The fundamentals never change. How those fundamentals are executed on, that varies, right? Before social media, things were a bit different. The thing I want to say about the lead generation piece is you've got to have multiple touch points. Right now, email marketing is making a massive comeback. All of my friends, whether it's Eric Worre, who actually uses Infusionsoft, so he uses the same CRM system that we recommend at Agency 8, whether it's Eric Worre or Ryan Dice or all these people who are like email marketing, they're email marketing and they're text marketing, and they're doing social media. And a lot of them are doing challenge funnels to bring people from social media into their email marketing list, right? So the question is, so how do you go quickly? Here are my following 3 pieces of advice. Number 1, is you find someone who's made the kind of money in that space that you want to make, right? And, maybe you see if you can get 15 minutes of their time and you ask them the questions. Number 2 is you execute on what they tell you to do. When I want to make $1 million a year in network marketing, my mentor was someone who made over $1 million a year. Whatever he told me to do, I did it. I had someone literally reach out to me and ask me for advice, and they cut me off. They said, can I have 5 minutes of your time? I gave them 15 and they kept cutting me off. I said, you are, in my mind, I'm like, you're not coachable. You're going to continue to suffer, because if you want to make $1 million a year and someone who has done that over and over and over again is giving you advice and you can't friggin' listen, that's not on them. Right? So I guard my time now. I get a lot of people who request my time. I don't say yes to everyone just because, no, I don't have that kind of time, but that's why I do this. But my point is, Kim, if you have someone and you and I are friends, so if you want to, I'll give you 15 minutes, but come prepared with the questions. As an example, I reached out to someone today. Mentors are very important. This person had a multi-billion-dollar exit in tech, specifically in AI. So I asked him for 15 minutes of his time. I'm friends with his ex-wife and they're still good friends. I'm not going to come to that and be like, oh, the weather's so nice. And what a lot of people do on mentoring calls, they start talking about themselves. It is a colossal waste of time. So you want to, when you have that opportunity, you ask that person and you're like, drill, like ask your questions. And then the third thing I'm going to say, just in terms of, how do you make it go fast? You are going to have to make up in numbers what you lack in skills. So in any business, in any sales situation, we all have a number. Marcia has a number, Lisa has a number, Terry has a number, Walter has a number, everyone has a number. And what that number is, how many reach outs do I have to do in order to get X number of appointments? And how many appointments do I need to execute on to get X number of sales? And I will tell you, the bigger the size of the deal, the more leads you're going to have. But in the beginning, in any new business venture, you're going to have more leads than you have time. You're going to have to literally, if you want to go fast, you would be having 8 to 10 appointments a day. Now, these appointments are going to be about 20 minutes. After you get through the niceties, figuring out what the pain point is, showing them how your product or service is going to fill that pain point, pre-answering their questions, getting them in front of some kind of visual aid, and then collecting a decision. So hopefully that helps. You're welcome. You're welcome. All right. Who's got the next question?
Hi, Susan. I have a question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
When you talk about execute, and I know that's one of the areas because I learn a lot and I'm learning so much, especially as a new business, putting all these different hats together as far as the marketing, finances, and everything. And I know I learn, but then when it comes to execute, and there's so many things that I wanted to accomplish with my business, especially during the end, to the end this month, the last 2 months. I'm ready to almost just to go on lockdown and just go into serious business mode and just taking action. So can you give me some suggestions on how to get it done? How do I execute?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question. So one of the biggest things, Marcia, is creating a plan that is deployed in phases, right? So when you look at what that phase is, looking at where you want to be, what's that result that you want to achieve, and then what's phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, right? So when I'm coaching startup founders, and my first phase is always get the foundation there. You can't build the house on the sand, you got to build it on the rock, right? So phase 1 is always, do you have the legal agreements? Do you have the corporate structure? Do you have all your social media handles? Do you have a name for your business that's trademarkable? Do you have, your website? Do you have all those things? Do you have that foundation? I built an online business that was profitable in 4 hours. 4 hours. And I just hunkered down, and I got the attorney, I got, whatever. I think the startup for that one was like $5,000, but within 4 hours we had made over $5,000, and then we were profitable like the next 5 hours in, right? So the phases should never change. You've got to get that foundation. Now, the second thing is you go into massive lead generation mode. That is always the next phase, because sometimes we procrastinate and we don't want to put our product or service into the market. You've got to get some people using that product or service that are paying you. So you have testimonials and you have proof of concept. We'll use Avery as an example. right? It's one thing for someone to say, I'm a TikTok expert, right? That, you know, there's, you know, I'm a TikTok expert, what to do. So I said to Avery, after she had the success of this one video, what's your plan? And she said, well, I want to prove to them that I can do more than just one video. So she's doing 2 more videos for this customer, and then she's going to present them with a proposal because their time is valuable, right? But she got paid to prove herself, and now she's going to charge more because she's already proved herself. So the next phase is really around leads, and Avery is launching another business, and it's going to be in the pet services space. It's a JV between her and Diana, who have a combo of over 30 years in pet services. So they're launching what amounts to an agency only for pet service providers, and they have done a ton of research, but they're still in the foundational stage. Now, Avery will tell you, before I said, hi, honey, how are you this morning? It was like, when is your website done? Can you imagine living with me? Right? After, when quarantine started, Avery moved home. So, you know, Avery will tell you, it's like, nope. Okay, when's the website done? Let's go. And then Avery was telling me, I still have this to do, this to do, this to do. And I said, well, just get it done. It should be done by tomorrow. You know, it just should be done. Right? So now she can go into lead generation. Her website isn't done. So if she gets the website done tomorrow, next week is going to be what, Avery? Lead generation, lead generation, lead generation. She has her lead magnet done. She's, you know, going to be good to go. And then the proof of concept for those initial customers. She already knows what that POC is going to be. And then you build on that with the testimonials. That's how you do it. And then you wash, rinse, repeat. While you're doing it, while you're selling, while you're generating revenue, your concept's getting better and better. To give you an example, Andrea Lake, as I said, I interviewed her. Her first online business was $19.99. It was a t-shirt business. She was still in high school. She did $70,000 her first year for that business. And then her next year, she did multiple 6 figures. Then she launched a second parallel business. And the first year that business did millions. Right? So, but again, Andrea and I are cut from the same cloth. Every business we start, there's a phase 1 is foundation, phase 2 is lead generation and POC, proof of concept, and monetize while you're doing your POC, improve your product, and continue to generate leads, continue to generate sales. How many of you were on Facebook back in 2007? Yep. How's the Facebook experience now compared to 2007, right? How many of you had a website in the 90s? I was the OG. I had 1995. I was a life coach on the internet before life coaches were a thing. Okay. The websites, if you go in the way back, they look totally different. So your product is going to grow and expand. You're going to grow and expand, but that's how you do it, Marcia. That's how you execute, right? And you come from an engineering background. So, you know, getting your foundation down and just getting those leads pouring in, really, really key. Okay. That's why when someone like Andrea Lake has done 14 startups and I have 5 businesses, it's because I'm not intimidated to start a business. Karen, you know, could call me up at 3 in the morning and say, Susan, you have to start a business and it's got to be profitable in 24 hours. And I would know exactly what to do, even if I was half asleep, because I've done it so many times, right? Okay, great question. Great question.
Thank
I'm loving
you.
these. You're welcome, Marcia.
I might need to come live with you so you could get your pointy toe shoes after me.
Okay.
Careful what you wish for, you know.
Avery, do you want to comment on that? Do you want to talk about the business you're launching?
Yeah, so basically what we're doing is we are doing marketing for pet services businesses. So that's groomers, boarding kennels, pooper scoopers, you name it. If it's a pet service, we want to help them out. And that's anyone from like mom and pop, like mobile groomers with one van that are just making it work, or you know, other businesses. Diana and I have obviously a lot of combined experience in this area. I actually grew up, my family in Canada owns a boarding kennel for dogs. So that was part of the inspiration. And you know, what's crazy, I don't know if this happens to you guys, but we have spent a decent sum of money boarding our dogs at local places when we've traveled. Never once were we hit with a, hey, you know, thanks for coming in. No, thank you. No, hey, come back. No deals, nothing like that. So basically our plan is, I mean, at least here in Arizona, we aren't seeing a lot of marketing that's done by these businesses. And so, yeah, so on that note, actually, if you guys want to help me with my assignment for next week, if you send your pets to a groomer, boarding kennel, whatever, it does not have to be in Scottsdale, and you think that they could use my help if they haven't marketed to you, all I ask is just send me an email, send me a DM on Instagram. I'll put my email here in the chat in a second, but if you know someone that could use my help, I'm ready to help them. If, you know, we're going to be doing deals and stuff too. So we're going to be using proven offers. So yes, if you want to help me with my lead generation, you know, you got to shoot your shot, right? I've got a whole resource of room full of people here that are willing to help. So if you know anyone, you know who to talk to. Also, if you have any social media questions, let me know.
Maura, you're awesome. Thank you. And thank you for putting our YouTube channel in there. Avery's on the YouTube channel. Diana's on the YouTube channel. Dave Asprey's on the YouTube channel. There are lots of free tips on there. And one thing I will let you guys know too, is that when we do our event next year, so every year we do our UME Ultimate Marketing Experience event, it's going to be amazing. It's going to be a hybrid event, so you can attend live or you can attend in person. Arizona people, we're just kind of living our life and doing stuff, but we suspect most people will attend virtually. But we have incredible speakers coming. One of the speakers that's coming is my friend Lori Harder. Lori Harder made millions in the direct selling space. She has a new startup called Light Pink. She made millions as an Instagram influencer and building masterminds and a coaching business. And her new startup, Light Pink, is a ultra low carb sparkling wine beverage, because who doesn't need that? I do. So I have to disclose I'm an investor in her company too, but Lori's going to be one of the speakers. And the theme this year is multiple streams of income. How many of you want multiple streams of income? Yep. So we are going to have a Black Friday sale that's not going to happen on Black Friday. But just so you know, just watch for it, where we're going to have ridiculous sales for those virtual tickets. We also have a new website building service through the agency that's coming. We're going to be offering 30% off on website builds. So if you want a website built, hello, yes, we can do that for you. So that's coming out, just super, super cool. Some stuff that we're doing, which is really awesome. All right. Okay. Karen, great question. I keep hearing that the most successful businesses get there by adding value to their clients. What's the best area of value you have provided to people in network marketing? And I'll just generalize and then specify. So very quickly, I want you all to write down this word, or value, right? Value. So how can I add value? If you want to be a multimillionaire, you have to add more in value than you charge in dollars. Part one, add more in value than you charge in dollars. That's part one. Part two of that, as my friend says, never undercharge for what people already need. Let me give you an example. Maura is a coach, right? So let's say Maura has a coaching package that's $2,500 and it's 5 sessions with Maura. And, you know, that's what she bills her time at. And the person pays $2,500. So how could she add more value? When she has a new client, could they get a swag box? Or more as an artist, could she paint, like, really, I have some of her art in my home. Could she paint like maybe really small paintings, right? And that when she has a new client on board for $2,500, she FedExes them like a little customized painting. And maybe it's something just beautiful and inspirational. She loves to paint anyway. It just costs her time. So then suddenly she's adding more in value. And then she could also be doing texting tips. She could have a whole texting funnel. So when she onboards a new client, they're getting daily motivation from Maura. Her newsletter is gorgeous, like different ways she can add value. So how do I add value in that network marketing business? Here's my list. It's a big list. Number one, we do our weekly newsletter, which I know you might think doesn't sound that sexy, but you know, it has tips, it has information. I do 2 free training calls a week for that organization. One is where I physically work with them and they're working. Another one is training. I bring on guests. It's a significant amount of my time. Then on top of it, as people are ascending, once they ascend to say the highest level in that organization, they get to go into a private group with me. We do, you know, different prizes. This year I gave away Louis Vuitton handbags. You don't have to do that. One year it was an all expense paid trip to Paris. I do all sorts of things. And, you know, and I add way more in value than that person paid. Now, the big thing I will say is that some of you, and myself included, I've given away so much that people started to devalue my time. And so you do have to be cautious in that regard, because, you know, you can have a very generous spirit, but then sometimes people will take advantage of that. So figuring out a way to have boundaries, but also to create a lot of value. And that might be things like just showing up for live Q&As. It might be doing fun little contests in your team, or a book club in your team, or something along those lines. Those are all great things to do. Great question, Karen. All right, who's got the next question?
Susan, I could jump in for 1 sec to say the other thing I do in terms of adding value is I give them, if when someone purchases that package from me, I give them free access to my complete online course.
Beautiful.
So that's how I've woven it in. Okay.
Awesome. I love that. Yeah. It's something we're doing. It's, I was just looking at some software like at 5 in the morning this morning, and my team knows they're going to get Slacks from me like 5 in the morning. They don't necessarily have to pay attention to them, but they're in different time zones. And so we're going to be doing something really cool where people who are getting their UME ticket, they'll be able to just choose a different level of swag that they get, and then the company will send it to that person, right? So that we're adding the value. Things we've done in the past at that event. One of my friends, Brendan Agranoff, he started a company called Hoop Swag. He was a millionaire at 16. We gave everyone attending socks, we gave them hats, we gave them journals, like, you know, all sorts of things that you can do. And it doesn't have to cost you money. Just get creative with it. It doesn't, Maura recorded her course, so she doesn't have to ever do it again, but they get that for free with that value, which is awesome. I love that, Maura. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Who's got a great question? These are amazing questions today, by the way. Love them. And you can send it to me privately. I won't say your name, but I might make up a fun name for you. So just, you never know. Okay. All right. Do you recommend adding a deadline in proposals? This quote expires. This is a great question from Bob, not their real name. So this quote expires in 30 days. I have a lead who I've spent many hours with giving marketing coaching. He refused to let me know his budget. So I have recommendations for him, yet I don't know what his budget is in order to guide him. Okay, here's what I would do in that particular circumstance. So yes, all quotes should expire in 30 days. When I'm writing a proposal, whether it's hundreds of thousands of dollars or whatever it is for a potential client, the quote expires in 30 days. It's just good legal practice to do that. What I would do is have an honest conversation. I just pick up the phone and say, listen, you know, I'm a very direct person. I love negotiating. So this is what I would do in your shoes, but I would pick up the phone and say, listen, you know, I really believe in your concept, and I think you're going to do great things in the world. And if I, you know, could suggest that, you know, in a go forward, I do really want to help you, but I'm still lacking clarity on what your budget is. And, you know, one of the things I feel about a good working relationship is just honesty. So what is your budget? And I would just be so direct. Don't dance around that piece. You know, don't dance around money ever, because that just leads to confusion in business relationships. Just be extremely direct. When I was negotiating with that attorney yesterday, I just said, you know, in your opinion, how many documents do you think? Is it 4 or 5? You know, and he's in the US, it'd be 5, and Canada is 4. He said 4. I said, great. he said, if I do it, this is my billing rate. If I have a junior do it, I said, I don't want a junior to do it. Are you willing to do a cap? This is for a startup. My client is a startup. Are you willing to do a cap so you don't go over that? And just before we got on here, he said, I'm absolutely willing to do a cap, right? So be direct. Be bold. Some of you when you were little and you wanted a cookie, you know, whoever it was, mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, you were like, I want a cookie. I want a cookie. I want it. And you didn't stop. You were relentless in asking. How many of you were relentless in asking? I know Avery was. She still is. But it was like nonstop. I want the cookie. I want the cookie. I want a cookie. I want a cookie. And then the parents like, no, you wore them down. You waited till they were really tired. And they're like coming in the door from work. You're like, I want a cookie. And they're like, oh, have the cookie, right? You're adults, but you're all capable. Be bold and ask for what you want. Leaders ask for what they want, right? Struggle. And, you know, as we're wrapping up this session, I want you to all understand struggle is optional. Complacency is optional. I see my friend Carrie here. Carrie's taken several courses with me. I also see she's at work. Carrie wants to change her life, but she knows, because she knows I'm going to call her out, not her last name, but just her first name. It's time for Carrie to be bold. And sometimes, you know, it takes a massive life event for us to shift into our boldness. But I would like to suggest 2020 has been a whole series of life events. What else do you need thrown at you for you to suddenly get bold? You know, pandemic, shutdown, quarantine, like, you know, the list goes on and on. What else do you need thrown at you? I'm at a place in my life where I'm just like, no, I am not settling. I am so not settling. It's just like, I'm done. Right. And so step up and be bold. All right. This is a great question. How do you get back into the social media scene after being absent to take care of healthcare issues? My friend Angel did. Angel left social media, didn't you, Angel? You left it all, right?
11 years.
Yeah, can you talk about that for a minute? Because this will inspire this person.
100%. I'm 29 years old. Ever since I graduated high school, I decided I didn't want a life that way. It's not that I didn't understand it. I'm sorry for the background noise. It's not that I didn't understand it or that I was insecure and like judging myself or anything. I just was not about it. I'm a belly to belly person. I love people. I want to touch them. I want to hold them. I want to hear their heart and their voice. So that's how my husband and I loved connecting with people. However, Susan sat me down in a cabana on Maui and said multiple streams, multiple ways. Lead generation must have multiple touch points like she just shared. And so I'd say just jump in. Listen to as many trainings as you can from mentors that you admire, and also know who you are and don't try and like be someone else, because you have people who will resonate with what your heart does. And so I am having fun relearning at almost 30 years old, and I get compliments all the time on my stories because I'm being true to myself. And so I hope that helps. But just this encouragement, I'm 30 and I've been out of the game for 11 years almost, but I love it now.
And Angel, thank you so much for sharing. Hopefully that helps to the person who asked. You know, really be in that place of your social media should be an extension of your heart, right? And sometimes our hearts get hurt, but you know, that your social media doesn't have to be anything other than who you are. You'll build that tribe. And I want to acknowledge Angel, because last year, almost you know, a year ago to the day when I was there, and she said, I really want to be successful. And I said, you're going to have to get back on social media. And she did. And we had this big heart-to-heart, sister-to-sister chat about, you know, it doesn't have to be like it was before. right? And you can choose what that experience is going to be like. And so we came up with the conversation around Ohana, the family. And I said, think of whatever your social media is. It's not about you're going to have thousands and thousands of followers. Maybe it's a small handful, but they're like your extended family. And so kudos to Angel. She and Shane are building a beautiful team. You know, it's just gorgeous. So thanks, Angel, for sharing that. And hopefully Melissa says thank you. All right. Okay. Oh, and Kim just gave you a compliment. You do have a beautiful energy about you, for sure. All right, I want to wrap up with some thoughts. So if you're grabbing a pen, has coaching been helpful today? Hopefully it's been helpful. Hey, Ralph. And I love our diversity of ages and locations and everything here. So, you know, bring your friends next time. I love to do this. So a thought I want to leave you with is controlling what we can control. In a world that feels out of control, it's very easy to get wrapped up in this sense of feeling disempowered. And I want you to think about what you can control. So here are just some thoughts randomly for you. You can control writing someone a handwritten note, right? Walter, I bet there's someone who would love a handwritten note from you, right? You can control getting your workout in or drinking 4 liters of water, which is a gallon of water. You can control going for a walk. You can control writing out 20 items of gratitude. You can control not watching the news. You can control saying, hey, I'm going to spend 30 minutes, 60 minutes, 90 minutes just focusing on my business. You can control, like I said to Tarina, scheduling 72 hours and doing a deep dive on something you don't understand, right? Can't you? Yes. So I want you to think about that. Control what you can control. We have about 6 weeks left in the year. And one of the things I've been saying to clients and all of you is that I want the rest of this year to be the best of your year. One of my students, I won't go into her personal story, but she's taking my Organize Your Life class, and she came into some money and she said, Susan, what do I do with it? And I said, I want you to go and I want you to stick it in a Roth IRA and I don't want you to touch it. And she did. And so as a result, for the first time, she's maxed out her Roth IRA. And I said, how do you feel? And she's like, I feel like I'm in control. And that's an awesome feeling, right? It's an awesome feeling. So Sally and Teresa, Marcia, Kim, all of you, before you go into your next meeting, your next thing, I want you to write down 3 actions you can take to really make the rest of this year the best of this year. And I'll give you some business suggestions. So is it finally getting a website done? Okay. Don't just go buy a website. As I said, we have an amazing web builder. Some of you know this person. We're going to have a sale. I'm not telling you the day we're going to launch it because I'm just getting some things done on the back end before we do. Not me, the team. You know, maybe it's the social media stuff. Maybe you hire Avery for a session and you say, okay, I'm done trying to figure this out. Avery, I don't know if there's a special on your coaching right now or not. I have no idea. Okay. It just ended. Okay.
So we'll do another one, you know.
I don't know what it is. I don't know what Avery charges. I think it's 147, 197. I don't know.
I think it's 197 for.
Okay. Here's what we're going to do. Right after this, when we send out the recording, we'll give you guys, just the people who came, we'll give you a discount on it. So if you want to hire Avery to do a session for TikTok or Instagram, she's masterful at
just digital marketing in general. I've got you.
She's masterful at coaching people with their brands. The third thing I'm going to say is that just like you would create a plan for the year, I want you to step back, maybe take some time, an hour or 2 hours over the next few days and create a plan just to the end of this year. So thinking about that very deeply. It's something I'm going to be doing next week, is not just working on my 2021 business plan, but working on what am I going to do the last 6 weeks of the year so that I finish in a place that I feel good about. So I don't look back on I can't stand when people say, I wish the year was over. Don't wish your life away. Wish you were better. So I want to finish on, on December 31st. I want to be like, yes, 2020 was weird, but here's why I'm ahead. Here's how I grew. Here's, whatever that is, right? So I want you to finish strong. So with that, I want to thank you all for being here. You're all incredible. Please go ahead, give a shout out on social media at Susan Sly. If you're not following me on Instagram, you can give me a shout out on LinkedIn. You can give me a shout out on Twitter, but Instagram would be preferred. So with that, God bless, go rock your day, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.